Detroit Pistons select Luke Kennard from Duke University.
Bang! Samaje Christian, 3.
Welcome, everybody, to a special edition of the Triple Double podcast. My name is Corey Albertson. I have Jason Morrow on last-minute notice helping put this together, our producer. Thank you, Jason. And we've got Chas Wolfe, highly requested to come back on the podcast. Some news came down in the basketball world. Wanted to get Chas on here. This is not a scripted episode as we've done in the past. We're just going to have a conversation. Chas, what's the word?
A good word. It's Wednesday. It's hump day. So here we are.
Here we are. Well, the nice thing is I think some of the fans felt like they didn't get to hear all the intricacies of Chas Wolfe last time because we recorded at the Spieth Fieldhouse and there was all that bullshit in the background. So now we're really going to get to hear some of the metaphors, the analogies, all that you've got to offer.
I mean, I can't give away all the secrets to the recipe, but, you know, I'll give you a little bit of my Pinterest board. So, yeah, I mean, I've been kind of lame on Twitter lately, laying low. I'm in the lab, just trying to get ready for July like everybody else, Hopefully, I don't have too many haters right now, trying to get paid like everybody else.
Yeah, I don't even know where to go for social media. Twitter, I mean, it's 2018. I don't even think kids have Twitter. I only know how to do Twitter. I check my Facebook once a month. But, these kids have Instagram, and then they got their Instagram burners. And, I mean, Brian Colangelo is the only guy over 30 that can keep up.
I got no idea. I don't know anything about Snap. I don't know anything, I don't know anything about some of these secondary social media sites. I mean, kids are smart these days. They're 13 going on 30.
Absolutely. So, well, let's hop into the reason we're doing this. It's like the Tom Brokaw special report here. We want to talk about some of the proposed changes from the NCAA regarding the way college coaches are allowed to go out and evaluate high school prospects. And Chas, I think you know more about what's going on than most people in the industry. So why don't you give us the rundown of what the proposed changes are?
Well, right now the proposal is it's going to be based with the NCAA summer evaluation periods. Right now, currently, college coaches on the Division I status, they're allowed to go out 2 weekends in April, to evaluate prospects on their AAU team. May is dead. It's a dead period. June is a dead period unless the kids come to their campus for a elite campus shootout. And then July, we've got the 4-day sessions from Wednesday to Sunday. There's a new proposal that's going to be on the docket for August. And the new changes will be something like this. This is not set in stone to you listeners out there that are taking it to the grave, but this is from my inside sources, people I know, guys that are involved with the NABC, people behind the scenes at the NCAA. And, what we're hearing is there'll be one weekend in April that will be an AAU weekend for AAU teams. Because of the calendar year, there won't be 2 weekends for 2019. It'll just be 1 weekend. May will be dead, so there'll still be AAU tournaments. It'll just be dead for college coaches at Division I level like usual. June, we're hearing that there will be either 2 weekends or 2 weeks where college coaches can go watch kids with their high school teams. We're uncertain. We don't know if you're going to be, like, let's say hypothetically, if you're an assistant coach at Xavier in Cincinnati's having a shootout or team camp, however you want to say it, preface it. I don't know if you're going to be allowed to go over to another Division I site and watch kids that are performing, at another college or institution. I don't know if it's going to be a situation where it's going to be where they have to go to a small college, D2, D3 campus, NAIA, whatever it may be, go to the high school. We're uncertain with how that's going to, pan out. There's obviously going to be some wrinkles with this the first year, if it does go through, of what they're going to try and figure out. And there's going to be loopholes like there always is. There's going to be guys that are figuring out, ways to get around the system. But in June, like I said, 2 weekends to 2 weeks possibly that you can evaluate with their high school team coach. July, no AAU. There'll be no team functions. There will be 2 to 3 weeks. I'm hearing Wednesday to Sunday of USA basketball camps. First thing is this is, how are they going to choose the kids? Well, the kids are going to be, the campers, the prospects are going to be chosen by the 350 plus Division I schools. So there'll be a nomination ballot that goes out probably sometime after the April period. I'd imagine it has to be, early May. That way there, that the college coaches can decide who they want to come to camp. Figure-wise, the numbers, you're looking at anywhere between 2,500 to 3,000 campers per session that will be spread out to 4 to 6 regional sites. So you're looking at a mass number of campers. Now, none of this is set in stone. Right now, it's pretty much secondary information that we're getting. This is not set, but these are some of the things that we're hearing early. The senior class will have the highest representation of prospects going to camp. Mara, are you still with me? So we'll have the highest representation, somewhere between 800 to 1,000 campers spread out. And then you'll have your rising sophomores, your rising juniors. I do not know what they're going to do with that freshman class. I don't know if they're going to do an underclassmen camp. What we're hearing is there's going to be 2 weeks of these satellite regional camps. These camps will take place at whoever bids or whoever wins the right to host the camp, which would be on Division I sites. There's also the capability, let's say hypothetically, Duke and North Carolina want to host the camps. Well, they can. There's a possibility that they could do a shared regional camp where it could take place at both sites, depending on how many numbers. So there's the opportunity for multiple D1 programs and universities to host it. Obviously, the criteria that's going to be met, is still undecided. How many total campers that's going to be. Can a cafeteria house it? Do they have enough room? Do they have enough dorms? Do they have enough courts? There's a lot of variables. There's a lot of X factors that go into that. And then one of the weeks out of the 3 is proposed to be a national camp, which would be anywhere between 120 to 150 of the top prospects. I don't know if that's just going to be seniors. I don't know if it's going to be a mix of underclassmen. So there's a lot of unknown, but those are sort of the things that we've heard on this canvas, of this new July era. There's an uproar between some people obviously that are involved with AAU. There's also, you got to look from the business side. There's a lot of guys that I know that, you're looking at a monopoly by the NCAA, USA basketball. There's, guys that have already thrown up their arms, red flags, looking at antitrust laws, you're looking at, lawsuits, you're looking at discrimination. So, it'll be interesting to see how this plays out, but I believe the vote on this and the time on this will be around the 1st or 2nd week of August, and that'll be something that we find out, here in the next month or so.
Well, it's that's great information, by the way. Thank you. I've heard most of that. A couple things that you mentioned that I had not heard, and I used to have about 100 questions. Now I've got about 200. And the way to look at this thing is exactly how you said it. You got to break it down by a lot of pieces. You got to break it down by what's best for the college coach, what's best for the kid, what's best for the support system of the kid, be it the family, the high school coach, the AAU coach, etc. And then what's best for people who are making their living at basketball. And I mean, this obviously, this thing is rooted to some extent, if not a huge portion of it, in the FBI scandal, the Condoleezza Rice discovery, all that type of stuff with, oh my God, what's his name? Christian Dawkins Vaughn and all those guys. But the majority of these guys are doing a good job, I think, running the events. But let's take this approach with it. Let's break it down. Let's break it down by month. So we're starting off here. High school season's high school season. Nothing's going to really change. Let's talk about April and really talk about shoe companies. In your opinion, will shoe companies put as much money into this thing as they have in the past because their return on their investment is going to be so much smaller? And everybody always tells me that, Nike, Adidas, Under Armour take a bath on these events, but it's great for their brand and great for their future ability to acquire athletes. But those college coaches packets take away a lot of that financial exposure. So how do you see the sneaker war changing?
Well, I think it'll get smaller, and I mean, you look at the EYBL, there's going to be, if this happens, there'll be no Peace Jam. And here's the other thing. So, I've heard rumors of, if the Peace Jam or the Under Armour finals wouldn't be in July, they would move to August. I don't see that happening. Reason being, one, a lot of the kids that play in the South, they start school on August 1st. I talked to guys in Virginia, I talked to guys in Florida, South Carolina. They go back to school August 1st, so there's going to be no time. You look up in Ohio, you look in the Midwest, we've got kids playing football. Those kids are, not everybody, but there's still kids that are good prospects that play football. So I really don't see any of the shoe events going into August. I see it shrinking. I see them evolving. Nike's obviously been creative in the way that they've done things over the last, 5, 10, 15 years with their camps and AAU events. For only having my outlook is this. I don't think you can have as many teams. I think obviously Nike's been, a lot of the guys, it seems like at the grassroots level, have been pressured to create these teams for a lot of pros, and they want to have their own team, so there's that pressure of having an extra team. I see that shrinking. I see maybe it going from 40 down to 24. You look at Under Armour, they got rid of their 15U division pretty much, in the their main circuit. I could probably see Under Armour just having a 17U division. So you look at Adidas. To be honest with you, I don't even know who to contact Adidas. I don't know who to contact to even get into one of them.
No one knows.
From a media standpoint. No one knows who's running Adidas. It's like the person behind the wall at Wizard of Oz. We have no idea who the voice is. So, from an identity standpoint, I look at small neighborhood teams, some of those teams in Ohio that maybe don't have a shoe deal. And I can see those teams benefiting because they only need to go to a live tournament once. So, they might be able to compete in April. I can see the shoe companies putting more money maybe into high school.
Well, let me stop you. Let me stop you on the shoe company thing because I think it brings up an interesting point, which is we're going to see how much power the shoe companies have. Because I think it was Under Armour, maybe 4 years. I'm going to say 4 years ago, my guess. They rebranded the Elite 24 in New York City. They decided they were going to try and attract more than just Under Armour kids. They were going to try and get some of the Nike kids to come play in the game. And Nike basically said, fuck you guys, and created a camp in the Bahamas and took all their 5-star kids to the Bahamas for a week and sure had a lot of fun and played basketball and made an exposure event. And I say that to say this. If you're a 5-star kid, what benefit do you get from playing in some of these camps that the NCAA is suddenly going to vote on? So it's just like when you see guys in the NBA draft, you say, well, I'll go there and I'll get measured, but I'm not going to play 5-on-5. I'm not going to do the live drills. I'm just going to let you measure me, and that's it. It's almost going to be like that. I could see where Nike could have some thick camp somewhere with a lot of perks to it and everything, and the top kids are going to say, I can't improve my stock. I can only hurt my stock. So why the hell do I even go to that camp? Why the hell do I go to the NCAA camp? I'm just going to go do what Nike's going to do. I could definitely see that happening.
Well, yeah, I think the kids that have already been identified, as top 100 prospects, or, you got to figure anyone that's probably in the top 150 to 200 prospects in the country are high major targets. The other thing that's going to be, but those kids got to be nominated. Like, there's going to be some situations where the recruiting element is going to be really polar, because you're going to have guys. I mean, the recruiting game has changed. Last episode we talked about guys that weren't really focused on watching 15 and 16U, correct? And then now they got to nominate kids to come to this camp. So from that standpoint, like they got to nominate these kids and identify these kids to come to camp. But on top of it, let's Butler for an example. Are they going to nominate a Gordon Hayward to go to camp, or are they going to stash and dash him?
That's exactly what I was going to say. Why? So if my goal as a college coach then is I want to get the best, and I'm sorry, not the best teams. I want to get the best individual talent at my camp in June, be it an elite camp or be it a team shootout, and I want to do my evaluation there. And then as far as who the other guys see in July, I don't give a shit. So now I've got to be really kind of facetious with, obviously politically, so now it becomes a whole political thing. So there's going to be, these guys didn't vote for this kid. They don't think he's good enough, so he's not at the camp. So, we're not going to mess with the school. But then at the same time, you have incentive not to vote for a kid to go to the camp because you don't want him to be seen by the other party. So while the NCAA, I think, is trying to take away some of the dramatics of spring basketball, they're not doing that, and they're just making a more convoluted mess that's going to be really difficult to maneuver. And the people who are going to outmaneuver the others are going to be the more conniving ones. The honest man in the recruiting, I think, is going to get left behind in this paradox just as much as they are right now.
Yeah, I mean, to be honest with you, I just don't see how the NCAA is going to say, well, the college coaches can only go to USA basketball camps. I mean, what are you going to do with the junior college events? Are you going to say, well, you can't go to junior college events? I mean, I think the people that run camps, if it's the hoop group that does a lot of camps in July, whoever else enters that marketplace, maybe they totally get rid of team events and they just allow to run camps. Like, from the standpoint of putting all these camps together and you're looking at somewhere between 7,000 to 10,000 campers. I mean, this is a major process. To get it right the first time is going to be extremely hard. To me, it's not about the camper. They're trying to protect their most valuable possession, which is the college coaches. Well, how are they doing that? Well, they feel, from this standpoint, what does the NCAA have? They have an $8 billion deal with CBS and Turner. The big picture is not, to me, it's trying to control their coaches from going on the other side of the street, crossing the tracks, tampering, getting involved. They don't need their blue blood schools. They don't need Arizona. You don't need Kentucky. You don't need Duke. You don't need these schools getting in trouble and messing up their NCAA tournament. Yeah,
but good luck doing that when you're creating an environment where the 5-star kids are being recruited by these schools, and June is a month where you're highly incentivized to have those schools on campus. So here's, again, just trying to think outside the box on loopholes people are going to use to get away with things in this. So now, if I'm a Huntington Prep or a Findlay Prep, this is music to my ears. I'm now making it easier to recruit kids to come to my school, especially maybe not the kids who are ranked 1 through 50 in the country or 1 through 100, but the kids who are ranked 101 through 300. High major players, but guys who maybe don't have quite the notoriety yet. So those guys all consolidate into 50 prep schools. Well, now the blue bloods or any high major, any mid major is going to have to get these schools and incentivize them to come to their specific camp and what is associated with that. So now you're maybe taking some districts that are poor districts that have a really big time kid. They need to get to that camp. The NCAA, of course, is going to say that school has to pay their own way to get to that camp. They have to pay some resemblance of an entry fee to play in that camp, and you don't think there's going to be tampering, okay.
But you're never going to be. It's never going to be a perfect system, as we know. I mean, there's always going to be a situation where the problem is this: is there's no equal playing ground for high major to the low major level. To me, there's no benefit of the low majors being on the same platform as high majors. So it's too big of a discrepancy, you know. When you come down to total revenue, to budget, it doesn't even matter. You could give the high majors 5 days of live period and give the low majors 50, and there's not going to be a makeup, you know. So to me, and not going way off subject, the prep schools are going to benefit the most from this. The best kids in your state are just going to transfer. I don't care what the OHSA rule is. They're just going to go to prep schools, or they're just going to go to power schools at the high school level. I mean, especially in the East Coast, the guys that I've talked to up there are just I'm not going to name the prep schools, but, they're like, listen, the best kids in Philly, the best kids in Jersey, the best kids in D.C., New York, they're all just going to load up on these prep schools.
Oh, New England, D.C., Virginia, Florida, North Carolina, I'm sure California has a similar market. Those type of places, it's not even going to be high school basketball.
I mean, when you talk about these lawsuits, I'm not Jay Billis over here. I'm not sending out morning rap tweets. I got to go to work. But
you a Jeezy guy though? Are you a Jeezy guy?
No, I'm not the guy writing those ones. I didn't get a Puma deal with a basketball and rap concert.
You're a Zach Brown band guy.
Not really. I don't like chicken fried rice unless I'm at P.F. Chang's. So. I don't know. Is that Mauro? Are you laughing? So, my question is how many damn times did they play Wagon Wheel at the state tournament that 1 year? I swear to God, it was. And I know.
And I kept on telling Stubbs. I kept on telling Kurt Stubbs this year they were playing Kendrick Lamar. It was like they totally changed the state tournament playlist. It was like
was Roger down there? Was my man Roger down there hitting the jukebox or what?
No, they took Stubbs' iPod, they threw it out the window, and took Zach Fleer's.
Well, it's because he's got all that 5K music. I mean, those songs are so fast,
Right.
Who knows what he's listening to? REO Speedwagon. He could be listening to, Chicago. I mean, Tim McGraw. Who knows what he's got? But
let's say this though. So a big part of this thing, at least on this campus, and I don't believe that this is one of the motives, but what they would like you to believe, the powers that be, is that they want to put the kids, being the top prospects, in the hands of the people who are most suited to protect the best interest of those kids. And their way of doing that is by putting them with the high school coaches. And number one, there's no way to judge the merit of who is a better qualified to help these kids with a high school coach versus an AAU coach.
Well, the only thing with the high school coach is they have more chain of command on discipline. The high school coach has his AD, he's got the principal, he's got the superintendent. The AAU guy, I mean, everything he has is, an NCAA governing body of 3 people trying to control 1,000 AAU guys.
I disagree because having been back in coaching AAU now, the last 2 years, the NCAA administered a new policy, which is that if you want to coach in AAU, you got to do 2 things. You used to have to do kind of a bullshit background test. Now you got to do a true background check, and you have to do that USA Basketball Coaching Academy. Let's all hug each other.
Yeah, still wait. They're going to make $50 off of you.
But I mean, what qualifies a high school coach to? I mean, high school coaches, Chas. Do you think that all of them have a good grasp on NCAA rules, academic eligibility?
No, I got guys right now tweeting that are breaking rules.
Right.
I see guys every day breaking rules. I mean, no, I think that obviously, people are looking well. I think the NCAA guys or the AU guys have such a bad rap with this FBI Adidas case that it just threw everyone up in arms. Oh, this is terrible. And then we've got kids in Vegas at 3 a.m, walking the strip unchaperoned, and they're out there causing hell, and they're at the Mirage, and they're, what I mean? Like, they think that half these kids can't buy a damn Mountain Dew, let alone, they're not they're not even old enough to get into a strip club or gamble or do anything in Vegas,
There's nothing more depressing than being under 21 in Vegas. The first time I went to Vegas was a basketball trip, and I was 20.
Yeah.
It sucked.
Well, it sucks when you're over 21, you're out of money, and you got to take that, walk the plank to the ATM, and you get that $42 charge. So, I don't care who it is. I can see from the standpoint, of the uptight male parent. It's like, we got to protect these kids. It ain't about the damn kids. It's not about the damn kids. Actually, with this new proposal, you're going to see the kids more. You would see them, 1 to 2 times in April. You'd see them 2 times in June, so that puts you at 3 to 4. And then hypothetically, if the camp or whatever it is, however July works out, if it's camp or if it goes back to AU or whatever, you're getting 7 evaluations, from that standpoint, not counting if you invited the kids to your elite camp or to your team camp. And then in the high school year, from September, whatever it is, 9 or 10, and up until your last game, that's another 7 evals. So you're getting close to 14 evaluations on that single prospect. You're getting more.
But how bad are some of those evaluations, in my opinion, going to be at the camp? So if you have an AAU game, so you have the Peach Jam, and the Peach Jam, you go down there and you got 24 teams being coached by.
Peach Jam's the best evaluation you're ever going to get in AAU.
No doubt.
Not
you
a
got
better evaluation
24
because
teams being coached.
You can't emulate the intensity of the game.
No doubt. So let's say now you go away from that, and you throw these kids at this and now you have 120 coaches. You have 1 coach per player because every kid that goes to that national camp is going to have their guy, whether it's their trainer, their dad, their uncle, their cousin, and that guy's going to be coaching that kid. Now that guy's a non-certified expert on the recruiting process, and now the college coach is going to have to deal with that guy. It's just going to be a shit show.
Well, the people that are going to be upset with the evals are not going to be the high majors because they already see the good players. It's going to be your low to mid majors that are frustrated because it's hard for them to pick out kids. And on top of it, how are they going to do the rotation? How are they going to do equally fair playing time? Are you going to play, how are the games going to be set up? Is it going to be first 5 in, second 5 in? You know what I mean? Like, what's the substitution going to be at camp? Is it going to be equal playing time? Are we going to get a fair evaluation? You know what I mean? Like, there's a lot of variables and unknowns with that. Like, the NCAA doesn't really, to be honest, they don't care about the players. Secondly, they don't really care about the low to mid majors. It makes for a good storyline seeing a 16 seed upset UVA. But at the end of the day, they would rather have 66 or 68 high majors in. So they know that they're going to buy, they're going to sell every gym out with tickets.
And those are the bigger fan bases. And right, it's about ratings and ticket sales. And ticket sales are probably going to take care of themselves to an extent. It's about TV ratings. It's about selling Budweiser advertising space.
Listen, end of the day, $8.8 billion. That's where the money is. It's in the NCAA tournament. And whatever they can do to control their coaches and not let them go to AAU events, this is one aspect of doing it. It's the end game result right here. Do I think it's right? No. Because I think there should be a free market. Is it going to happen? We'll wait and see.
Is it going to happen is an interesting question because so now you've got 2 lobbies. You've got the NCAA. Well, the NCAA is ultimately making the decision. They can talk about making it a vote, whatever. It's not a democracy. It's a dictatorship at that level. But you've got the lobby from the shoe companies, which the NCAA publicly says they don't like. So those are the guys who are going to be fighting for more AAU, less camp. And those guys, whether it's in the best interest of the hoop group and the NY to LAs and the big shots of those guys, it doesn't matter what those guys think. The shoe companies speak for them. So is the NCAA going to cut the shoe companies slack? I say no. I think it's going to happen.
Well, and the other thing is people are like, well, the NCAA is going to waste all this money on camp. Well, we don't know how much. I don't know how they're going to do the bidding to get these kids on, to get the sites at the Division I facilities. Are they going to, is a Texas or is a Kansas or Louisville or Kentucky and Duke or Villanova, whoever it may be, are they going to put up a price point and say, listen, we want to host one of the USA regional sites and we're going to give you $5 million, Because I know this much. From people that run camp, to house, feed, dorm, coach, to pay for, each kid has a flat fee of around $275, I was told. And that's how much the overhead is per camper, all right? So if you want to do 275 times by 7,500, you're looking, it's going to cost the NCAA to do 3 weeks of camp right over $2 million just in camper fees. If you have 353 Division I programs, let's say the NCAA charges each regional site $200 a packet. That's for the NCAA, for the players packet. You're looking at, for public school math, you're looking at right around $282,000 a week times by 3 sessions. They're losing about $1.2 million by doing this. Now, the biggest X factor that I don't know is how are they going to decide which D1 campuses wins the bid to host these kids at their campus? Because they're trying to say, oh, we want these kids to have the college experience. We want these kids to come in and stay in the dorms and eat in the cafeteria. That's all bullshit. Get out of here. I mean, most of these kids, that are in this generation have stayed in nicer hotels than low major college coaches. I mean, I don't want to hear it. Like, a lot of these kids are privileged. Like, they might, when they're not inside their basketball family and they're, they come from whatever background they come from, yeah, that's a rough life. But when they're with the shoe teams and AAU and all that, these kids are pretty well taken care of for the most part. I mean, they've played the game. They know what they need. So I'm interested from that aspect to see, and what's $2 million whenever you have an $8 billion TV deal. I mean, it's like, you taking me to Raising Cane's, right?
Of course, and they'll come up with some financial way to justify it. I mean, there's going to be, there's going to be an official sponsor. They're going to have to use somebody's brand of basketball. They're going to have to use somebody's brand of jersey. So they're going to figure this thing out. But I think the big theme here that we talked about is it's not benefiting the kids. It's not benefiting.
But they can only go to camp for 1 week, from what I'm hearing. So what are they going to do the other 2 weeks? Are they going to pick up? Are they going to pick up a paper route? Are they going to cut grass? Are they going to, are they going to work at Best Buy? What are they going to do the other 2 weeks? So, like, if you don't get selected to do the top 150 camp in Colorado Springs or wherever it may be held, like, what do? You only play 1 week of basketball in July?
The AAU guys, any AAU guy, and I mean, I probably find myself in this realm. Your strength, your ability to survive in this game is your ability to adapt to changing circumstances. And when you look at the shoe companies and the AAU coaches, they're going to find a way. They're going to find, it's like Jurassic Park. You know, life finds a way. When the dinosaurs get out, they're going to find a way. So there will be something. It's just a matter of how are those powers that be going to be able to coexist, and it's going to be like a turf war. It's going to be a political war. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm interested. I've heard 10 different theories from 10 different guys on how it'll affect people like you and me with scouting services. Some people think it's the greatest thing. Some people think it's the worst. But irregardless, it's going to be a busy summer with college coaches in July. It's going to be the only thing you hear about on the road, other than where you're going to dinner tonight in Vegas.
Where are you staying at?
Where you staying at? It's going to be,
I always say I'm staying with Cody. That's why I tell him I'm staying with Cody.
It's going to be this, and we'll have to see how the smoke settles and what happens.
Well, I mean, 10 years ago, April went dead. The NCAA, the April period was dead. Media, scouts, small colleges. We still went out in the April period. I mean, I remember going to the Pitt Jam Fest. I mean, I still remember going out on the road. And the AAU event still went on.
You go to that's when you got to go to the Pitt Jam Fest, and for Ohio people, you got to watch Ohio Red play OBC. You have to watch the top kids play each other. It's all pre-sneaker stuff.
Yeah, exactly. So, I mean, some people say, well, you know, there's going to be some television production company that's going to come in and they're going to televise this and college coaches are going to watch it. That's all bullshit. College coaches have a hard enough time sitting there at a live tweet event right now and staying off their phone and watching games right in front of their face. You think they're just going to go back and get on Synergy or get on whatever platform it is and try and break down and watch an AAU game? Like, I don't believe that's going to happen. Like, you know, they might buy it from the event host or the promoter and say, okay, you know, we're going to throw them $400 or we're going to give big shots or $400 of our scouting package because we're going to get on there and we're going to be able to watch all the games. Like, that's all fun and dandy, but like it's still another bad eval. I mean,
they'll buy it, but they won't use it.
You can't see. What's that?
They'll buy it, but they won't use it.
No, I mean, they just use it for relationships and networking. It's like the guys that buy, you know, in the second session in July this year, you know, you've got a bunch of teams up on the East Coast that do these combine days, you know, and guys would, you know, if they could, they'd buy 50 damn packets just to help with their relationship. You know, they're just going in to show face, and it's all political lobbying.
Absolutely. Well, I don't know what's going to happen. I wish, you know, if I had the Jerry Meyer crystal ball, I would give you the answers, but you know, who knows, man.
I mean, from a scouting standpoint, you know, from guys like ourselves that are out there evaluating and trying to figure out, you know, who's high major. Yeah, there's benefits to any side of it. You know, it can help, it can hurt. I can see different potentials of our value being better because they're not going to know maybe some of the kids as much because they only get to see them so many times in AAU, or they might not know the campers, so it might put value on us to help them with the younger kids. And then you have the same, you know, the other end of the stick where they get to see the kids a little bit more, you know, because they'll get to see them 2 times in April the following year. They'll get to see them 2 times in June at their high school stuff. You know, but I don't know. I think it's, you know what? I think it's one of those situations. It's a trust, you know, it's a brand loyalty thing. Guys take people's service sometimes just based on your relationship.
No doubt. But speaking of seeing you guys, I think we brushed over one topic that I wanted to talk about, which is this. We talked about the pros and cons for high major schools, high major kids, even any Division I school or kid. How about your fringe kid, your low Division II kid? What the hell happens if you don't get invited to these camps? I mean, that's where you're going to see individual lawsuits versus the NCAA, potentially class action for a whole lot of money, which would be another ridiculous.
Yeah, but the reason why the NCAA is cleaning their hands from it is they're putting the power of the camp nomination into the 353 Division I programs and making them in charge of the nominations.
But it's America in 2018. Somebody's going to find a way to sue somebody. Yeah, but even that, forget about the lawsuit part of it. If you're a kid, from what you're hearing, the intel you're getting, if you're a kid and you don't get invited to the camp, what are your options? If you're a school and you want to spend, well, I guess if you're
you just get your options are if you're a kid that doesn't have a Division I offer going into your senior year, and you didn't pick one up at the end of April whenever you performed on the AAU team, then you better get your ass to every elite camp within 300 miles and fork out the $90.
So what if you're
$50?
What if you're this one? And I mean, this is just a hypothetical. What if you're Jackson Hayes and you played at Cincinnati Moeller and your team was undefeated your junior season, they lost in the state championship game, and you averaged like 1.2 points a game literally. And then you go play AAU and you come back and you have an offer from Kentucky and Texas and Ohio State, and, you decide to go to Texas. How are we going to stop? How are we going to not allow coaches to recruit kids like that?
So basically what you're trying to say in layman terms are how are we going to be able to get the sleeper or the undervalued or the late bloomer from not attending camp. Is that what you're trying to say?
Well, the term is hashtag stock risers, but yeah, exactly.
Hashtag stock risers. That's kind of what I do at Dairy Queen on Tuesdays. But you know, it's kind of like anything. I mean, it's like
Just Tuesday.
You know, hopefully, you know, it's a hell of a question. I mean, what do you do? I mean, the kid didn't play. You know, the funny thing with Jackson is I remember going back and looking at his junior year stats, and I think he scored maybe 52 damn points.
It's less than that. It's less than 2 points.
Might be 38.
That number sounds right. That number sounds right.
52 is one of my Keno numbers. It might be 38, but Quano likes that. You know, Moro's down there at that Roosters in Grove City playing his pick 4 numbers. I bet he's probably like 1. Maybe he plays 1. He probably plays a baseball number. Probably plays like, you know, maybe like an Ohio State, like a Chris Spillman number, then 80. That pick 4 kicks out every once in a while. You won $72. I mean, it ain't a bad night down there at that Roosters.
No, absolutely. You get the wings. You tip the waitress double.
It's a hell of a question. I mean,
we walked out of a Roosters last week.
The stock riser from not getting into the damn USA camp. I don't know. I mean, but at the same point, if you're a coach, like I talked to a guy today, you know, at the A10 level, and he told me, you know, if there's some guys that we like, we might not nominate them because they came to the league camp or they came to shootout. We don't need to see them again. And you know what? We don't want a high major to watch them because we don't want them to off them. So, I mean, that's the card that some guys might play.
I don't see how.
My question is this: how many out of the 330-some schools, how many of these schools do you think really have a pulse on the 2021 class to nominate 35 guys tomorrow morning? But they will
10.
Because they're so consumed right now with trying to get older, and they want to get transfers, they want to get grad transfers. They're still looking at some crazy late available, you know, that might be out there. That's like, I don't know where he is. I mean,
and unless the kid goes to a powerhouse high school or a prep academy, then maybe they know who the top 5 kids are in their state, the top 5 kids in a radius of 150, 200 miles. But even then, they haven't seen them. And if the kid goes to a powerhouse high school or prep academy, unless he's a 5-star kid, he's probably not getting off the bench for that team. So now you're just picking. Now it's literally an industry of cool. It's a popularity race as to who, and it becomes on guys like us to make the correct evaluation because that's the list the college coaches is looking at. But then it's just guesswork. So now it's going to be. Now I'm going to say, well, the national scout. I got Evan Daniels scouting service. He said the top 10 kids in the country go to these 10 high schools. Well, I've got a relationship with Huntington Prep, so I'm going to nominate the Huntington Prep kid to go to the camp. That's how it's going to happen.
Well, the other thing is you know, we got to, you know, the deadline to get the kids in, you know, if they do it by May, then they're not going to get a chance to see some of these kids in June when they get to come on their campus. So they're basically just throwing pickles on a window, hoping 1 or 2 stick one. You know what I mean? I mean, that's another
thing. Not familiar with that phrase, but okay.
Yeah, you've never seen Good Will Hunting? I mean, come on now. It's a Good Will Hunting one. I mean, I'm giving you the best I got right now. Matt Damon. I mean, you were probably in 8th grade when that one came out. So, you know.
It's in my top 5 movies ever, so you're right. You're right. That's a good one.
But, you know, I mean, the national list, I think that that media/NCAA scouts should have should be, I'm not saying we need a lot of respect in this situation, but, you know, maybe we make up 25 to 33% of the vote to help these guys out. You know, like, hey, you know, these guys here need to be on the ballot. These guys see the kids. These guys should be on the panel to help with this. You know, whatever it is, a weighted, you know, give a little bit of influence. But
I like it.
at that same point, do we want to deal with that pressure from those parents to say,
well, there's also a huge bias factor. You know, right now anybody can apply for scouting service, and right now, I mean, if I'm being totally honest, I mean, a guy like me probably wouldn't be qualified because people could definitely question my intentions because I have a foot in AAU and a foot in scouting. So they're like, well, how can you vote when you could have a lot of observational bias in that? So I think that's a great idea, but you got to really.
But I mean, we have that with McDonald's All-American game. There's the same type of influence in the McDonald's All-American game. There's guys that I've never met that get votes, you know, that I have no idea who they are. Supposedly they live in Ohio. You know what I mean? We've never met them, but they get votes.
Yeah, it's a good point.
You know, so a lot of interesting things to look at here in the next month or two to see how this thing shakes out. You know,
no doubt. We went about twice the time that we thought we would. So I know Moro's got to stream some video games on Twitch tonight or something like that. So
what do you think Carmen's getting tonight at UDF for his Wednesday night milkshake? What do you think he's going to get?
Connor, he's got to get extra napkins to keep it out of the beard. I think that's one of the big things.
I'll tell you what, I mean, he's living over there in the rich and famous in that probably $500,000 Victorian home in Norwood, probably, you know, on a nightly walk with his lovely wife. And I tell you what, I bet he's probably got something real good. He's probably got a chocolate malt. He'll be the first one to critique me. He'll be blowing me up on Twitter. He'll be coming at me like Trump.
I told you it was super competitive last time when the podcast came out. The very first 2 episodes are you and Connerman. And Connerman hit me up, and you know he didn't say how's the podcast going, this or that. He kept on asking me one question: whose episode has more views?
Well,
all I know is this, Chas. You are the first repeat guest on the show.
That's right. You know, I mean, hopefully, you know, I'll be back for my 3-peat. So I love coming on the show. I love getting Morrow to laugh. Hopefully someday he'll ask a question, but it probably won't happen. But, you know, it was good chatting it up and hearing both sides of our opinions.
Good deal. Well, let's recap real quick, guys. For those who listened, we thank you. Hopefully you learned a lot about some of the proposed legislation from the NCAA regarding the way Division I college coaches are able to evaluate high school prospects. Remember, anything that Chas and or I discuss is our take on the matter, but more importantly, it's just proposed. It is not final. We're going to hear more about that probably in August, and we'll probably have Chas on here to get a reaction from what exactly does happen. But again, that was Chas.
Hey, Morrow, guess what? I just got a Chewbacca mask I won on eBay. This is great.
So that lunatic was Chas Wolfe from Prep Scouting LLC. My name's Corey Albertson. Jason Morrow is our producer, and you listen to the Triple Double podcast. Thanks, guys.
Thanks for having me on.